Hello everyone, thanks for watching my video. And that video I've decided to dedicate to talk about device type detection. And as usually for many my other videos, that video is no different. And I will start with the history, then I will proceed with the discussion, and the last one I will talk about the approach which I've decided to use in my platform. About the history. Despite the topic looks like pretty simple, straightforward and doesn't worth any attention, I still can say that it's interesting. And I found it's interesting while I was working with my platform, when I was doing the same. And once I had finished, I came an opinion that I may missed something. I have overlooked maybe something. And that's why maybe it's a good idea to create a video and ask a community. Maybe I can receive a feedback which could help improve my platform. Maybe I missed something or in general maybe I'm wrong and need to fix anything in my platform. In that way I can make my platform better and better. So that's the aim of that video. To whom that video can be interesting as well. I think it's a junior or middle front-end engineer, maybe backend engineer, doesn't matter. Everyone who has implemented the same or everyone who are planning to implement. I'm not sure that business can find anything interesting from that particular video. Okay, let me proceed with the discussion. And that part of the video I would like to split onto two main bullets. The first one is the reason why do we need to know what the device type is in the engineering, in the development. And the second one, what the approach is. So let's continue with the reasons. Among the reasons I would say there are three main reasons. The first one reason is we have a website. That website may look differently on the mobile, on the desktop, on the tablet. It's obvious because it's a different device type, it's a different approach to communicate and to use those devices. That's why you may want to distinguish and apply different already saying CSS rules. Different CSS rules depends on the device. But the question is what to use as a main condition, how to split those rules between it. To say like what the main signal should be to apply those rules for desktop only, those rules for mobile and those for tablet. Many developers use just only media queries, and in general it's a powerful instrument, but unfortunately media queries doesn't provide you with an information what is the device type. You can apply different CSS rules, depends on is it like different screen resolution, is it different orientation, is it different aspect ratio. And I know there are some tricks which could help you with a combination, unique combination of those ranges to identify that those rules will work just only for tablets and those for mobiles and for desktops. It's a good approach, but I found that approach fragile, and my approach is to use the exact knowledge. It's a desktop and all the CSS styles which I use for the desktop will be applied just only for the desktop, including the media queries. Meaning if I have a media queries for different ranges for screen resolutions, I understand and I understand and don't need to keep in mind that it will be overlapped somehow with the mobile. It will somehow touch the mobile. No, because it's the general restricted only for desktop, and I may use different screen resolutions, and that logic will not be overlapped with the mobile or tablet. And that's better. It's kind of isolated logic for those those device types, and I can customize. The next reason is you would like to distinguish not just only the appearance of your website but the behavior. You understand that the menu, for example, may work differently on mobile and desktop, and that's why you may want to achieve it. Maybe other logic like I don't know, different plugins which you need on mobile and don't need on the desktop, so you have to switch on some functionality for mobile and off to switch off on the desktop and vice versa. So you have to know what the device type is to invoke that logic and apply it depends on the device. The last one is what's related to backend stuff. On the backend, you also may want to know what the device type is. For example, you would like to manage, for example, in different ways the requests which come from the backend, from the front end, either mobile, tablet, or desktop. You may want to communicate in different way with the user who are using mobile or desktop, or you may want to send the different images depend on the device, mobile and desktop. Or for example, you would like to send the less heavy bundles which you have prepared for the mobile with a weak connection. So also for gathering different statistics, etc., you may want to know what the device type is on the backend as well. And it's in general very good if you can, if you know on the whole chain from the request until the response what is the device, and you can use it everywhere. Okay, what the approach is possible? The first approach, in general, there are two approaches which I'm familiar with. The first one, you can integrate, first of all, there is a special library which I would suggest it to use, which parses the user agent and can identify what is the device. And you can integrate that library on the client side, you can integrate on the server side. It's up to you, for example. But the benefits and negatives are existed, depends on related to all of those two cases, options. Why it's better to integrate on the client side? The only one benefit is you can more precisely to identify the device. How is exactly and why it does make sense, I will tell you a bit later. But for now, let's just remind it. About the negatives of integrating the library on the client side, I will tell you the next. First of all, it increases the bundle size, and it's a bad. And the second one, why it's bad approach to integrate that device detection library on the front end side as a part of your client's bundles, because you cannot display anything until you will determine what the device is. And that means if your library is a part of client's bundles, so until the browser will finish the loading them, execution, and then only you will know what the device type is, and then you can show for user at least something. That means until that moment you show for user nothing, and there is a gap between user enters your website and your website sends the request, browser sends the request to the backend, etc., etc., etc. There is a gap. And you may say that it's a very small gap. I agree with you, but you know it's still the gap. Server implementation looks really better because you don't, even since the first request, you already know what is the device type. And you can again to pass that information from the request till response and retrieve at any stage that information and use for different purposes. It's time consumption as well. For the client and the server, you still need in both cases to spend some time for parsing user agent, etc., etc. So that factor I think we may omit. Also, since the first request you know what is the device, you can adjust your HTML content which you're gonna to return to the user, and that content, even the first request, will be already useful content. It will be the content which you can use immediately to the user, and it may be already adjusted for the mobile and desktop. And that's a benefit to know that information on the server side. Okay, let's talk about my approach. And as I said, the best approach is to implement on the server side. And that's exactly what I did. However, then I found a very interesting case. Some versions of the tablets, for some reasons, produced by Apple, identified as desktops, despite they are tablets. And I was looking for the reason of that and found that it's not a bug of the library, it's a policy of the Apple. They don't want to identify or somehow marked the user agent on the tablet that it's a tablet, it's a desktop. That's the policy, and that's why that make wrongly identify tablets as a desktop and wrongly applied CSS rules, appearance, and the logic. And I was looking for the workaround and found just only one simple option for me, which I've decided to implement. It's a small code snippet which I integrated on the client side, but it's really too small, and it helps me to apply the extra check. And if I see if it's like touchable, and it's desktop, and it's Apple, so that means it's a tablet, and I should adjust the tablet, the device type from desktop to tablet. That's only one case when that check is applied. And since the time when that adjustment is happened, I do the changes to the cookies, and since the next request, my server already know that the device has been changed. In general, the first source of truth it's always cookie. If it's absent, browser does the parsing, etc., etc. So I mean, since the second request, the communication is already with the correct parameters. So that's my approach. If you know any other concerns, anything else that I missed, or you think you have better solution, so you can provide, and I will be happy to read. Thank you so much. Bye.